YouTube Ozic going the DOUBS is back, predicting every single NFL team's breakout player for the 2023 season. Also did this video for every team's MVP for the upcoming season. More of these to come out. We also have a bunch of ranking videos, dead accurate, perfect rankings on the channel. There's playlists full of those, so you can check them out. In-season content right around the corner. Hopefully you can join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter. Always interacting with you guys on there. Links pinned in the comments for that. Other social media accounts, all of our sponsors, including Liquid IV, which now has new sugar-free flavors. Code GOAT 20% off. Starting with the AFC East teams for the Bills, going to go with James Cook. Really thought about KAYVON, their cornerback, who was a rookie last year. I thought he started to pick it up towards the end of the year, getting more playing time. But I'm going to go with James Cook. You know, a lot of expectations last year, maybe too much last year. So I think now is kind of the time. They lose Devin Singletary. Hines had that injury in the offseason, obviously. They did bring in Damian Harris, but I think it's kind of like a 1-2 punch, a good split there. You know, they could look to run the ball a little bit more. You know, might run more 12 personnel, so more tight ends out there could open up the run game, could open up things for a player, a young, solid player like James Cook. So we'll go with him. Next, for the Jets, going to go Garrett Wilson. It's kind of an easy one here. You can go to a number of options, I suppose, but I like Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to tear it up. Maybe started a little slow last year, but really got going down the stretch of the year, second half of the season. He has potential to be a top 10, maybe even better of a receiver, big-time separator, big-time player after the catches, big playability. So him with Aaron Rodgers, I think this guy's going to break out. And we already know he's good. We saw it as a rookie, but he could break out to be a top 15, maybe top 10, maybe even better receiver this year. Dolphins, I'll go with Jaelan Phillips. Another one where I guess this one's debatable, like did he break out already? But I don't actually think so. I don't think he broke out yet. I think that's a good thing. I'm saying that as a good thing because I think Jaelan Phillips' breakout is going to show that he could be a star. So I think he's going to break out this year from being a good pass rusher to being a great pass rusher. Has elite potential in my opinion too. I was very high on him out of Miami, now with the Miami Dolphins. And already looks good. I think there's more breaking out to do. So that's why I got him here. For the Dolphins, the Patriots, I'm actually going to go Mac Jones. I thought about Christian Barmore here, but I'm going to go Mac Jones. A pretty good rookie year, nothing outstanding, but pretty good, pretty promising. And then the second year was pretty bad. Like he was pretty bad last year. And you know, 90% of the people, the fans out there, just kind of go off what happened in the previous year for some reason. So I think most people in their minds, it's Mac Jones is bad. So I think he'll break out this year, really step up, could even be better than he was his rookie year. I think he should be actually. You know, under Bill O'Brien, that helps as well. Maybe some more weapons out there. Some concern about the receivers, but I think they'll be all right. So it does play in a tough division, but I think Mac Jones takes a big leap this year. NFC East teams, Cowboys, I'm going to go with Damone Clark, the second-year linebacker from LSU. I was very high on him out of LSU. He just had that injury. I mean, you know, if you follow us during the pre-draft process, I still ranked him high, but I said if he didn't have that injury, I would rank him in the top 5 linebackers in that class ahead of Nakobe Dean, actually, is where I had him if he was healthy. So now he's healthy. Now he's ready to go. Micah Parsons kind of, you know, trended towards full-time pass rusher last year. Now it's going to be full-time pass rusher, which he was basically there last year. So that means more reps for your off-ball linebackers here. More reps for those guys, Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark, Marvion Overshown. So I'd watch out for Clark. He was starting to get some playing time last year. I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's just another step further away from that injury. I wasn't going to say another step being healthier, but I think he's been healthier, you know. So I think he's been healthy, but I guess he's healthier now. But, you know, and being coached by Dan Quinn, really good defense. I'd watch out for this guy. I think between him and the rookie Overshown, one of them's gonna be a standout guy, like not like a star guy or anything like that, but not a star player yet, but I think one or both will surprise some people. So keep an eye out for those linebackers. Eagles, very easy. Going to go Jordan Davis. They had it, you know, known in the back of their minds when they drafted Jordan Davis a year ago that, hey, we probably will lose Javon Hargrave. So they add Jordan Davis, a lot of upside there. We know how good he is stopping the run already. He can add, I guess, pressure, adding, you know, getting quarterback pressure to his game, but. Yeah, I'm thinking this can be like a Dexter Lawrence type player, the Giants defensive lineman. You know, is Davis going to have as good of a year this year as Lawrence had last year? Not really what I'm saying, but I think he's that type of player and could get to that level for sure. The only thing stopping it maybe is Jalen Carter because they also, you know, they lost Hargrave, but don't worry, they have Davis, but they also added Jalen Carter. They can play both alongside each other. We saw that when they were both at Georgia. They do have Fletcher Cox, but the very solid veteran will need some rest, I suppose, here and there. So we'll see both those Georgia guys on the defensive line there. I don't like going rookies for breakout, so we'll go with Jordan Davis here for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then for the Giants, we're going to go Kayvon Thibodeaux, obvious one. This was my #1 player in the draft 2 years ago. Because his pass rush ability, the athleticism, the get off, it's all there, And what I loved about him coming out of Oregon is he shows up in big time moments all the time. When he played for the Giants, we actually saw that. Like, he got a key pressure or he got a key strip sack. I think of the Packers game. It kind of showed up in big moments. Did he have a long list of those moments? I thought he actually had a good amount of pressure. But did he have a long, basically what I'm getting at, did he have like a crazy amount of stats? Not really, but again, I did think I thought he got a lot of pressure, and I thought he showed up in big moments, but he also missed some games, was kind of dealing with an injury. So I think he's ready to really break loose, and he could still be the best pass rusher. It's still up in the air. Right now it's Hutchinson, but it's still who can actually be. There's a few guys actually that could be the best pass rusher from that group. So I expect big things from Thibodeaux. If he doesn't do it, I'm gonna be a little disappointed. Washington, Chase Young, right? I mean, you got to go Chase Young. He's been in the league for a bit. The year he was playing, very good run defense. You can see the upside as a pass rusher, but you kind of wanted more. And then, dealing with injuries, not playing, not coming back when you expect him to. Now's the time. He has that talent in him. We know he's going to be a good run defender for a defensive end right away. But not only does he have to be on the field, he's got to be good. And if he's on the field, I think he'll be very good. So we're still waiting on his breakout year because he hasn't been out there. I think, why not now? I mean, you almost can go Montez Sweat over here too. You can go both pass rushers who have the potential of being very, very more than just very good, to be honest. To the AFC North, Bengals got to go Daxton Hill. I mean, a couple years ago they had it in their minds that they were going to lose Jesse Bates, and Daxton Hill could be that guy. Maybe a little bit of question because maybe he was more of a slot player rather than a free safety, but a guy you can move around a bit. So now's the time. They kind of been stashing him a little bit, giving him some reps, some learning experience, but now's the time for him to break out. I'd imagine they won't stick him in one spot. They'll move him around a little bit. Don't see too many reps in the slot, though, because Mike Hilton's the best in football. But, yeah, so it's really got to happen. No more Jesse Bates, Daxton Hill, a lot of upside. This has kind of been building up for this moment, for this season. So we're going to go with Daxton Hill for the Cincinnati Bengals. Ravens going to go Kyle Hamilton. They don't have a lot of great options, to be honest. Hamilton, you could say, I guess, as a rookie at the end of the year, kind of broke out once they found a home for him, like in the slot, even though he can play safety as well. He was sort of getting it, but a full year here, I would imagine a bit of playing him in the slot and at safety. So still keeping his position in the slot and then kind of taking over some reps for Chuck Clark. They might be a little thin at out. And I wouldn't put past Hamilton. I know he can play free safety, but they have Marcus Williams. But I wouldn't put him past him to play outside corner, and they might be a little thin there because Humphrey's already hurt. Rock Ya-Sin has injury concern. Ravens seem to always be beat up. So do we see Hamilton play out there at some time this year? We kind of hope not, because that means if he's not, then they're healthy, so that's great. But a talented dude that I think could really break out this year, and we kind of started to see at the end of last year. For the Browns, I like this one a lot. One of my favorite ones on the list, Elijah Moore, who I really liked out of Ole Miss, and he had some glimpses, some moments with the Jets, but they had some bad quarterback play. Now he goes to the Browns. They've been needing a slot receiver. They get one here. Shifty guy, gets the separation, home run type guy. Has that speed as well. I think they're going to scheme things up for him in this system as well. So a lot of upside here. And he's like, people think more, they think kind of a disappointment so far. I'd say not so fast. He's actually been like sneaky productive, not like really good production, but I think people, if you didn't know his stats, based on the way people are talking, they would probably, not that stats are everything, but they would probably guess a lot less than what he's had some production with bad quarterbacks too. So I think it'd be very solid for the Browns. I love that trade for them a lot. Steelers go George Pickens. Thought about Kenny Pickett as well. Pickett started going at the end of last year. Pickens had some flashes at the end of last year. You can go either one, but I'm going to go with George Pickens because he has that. I could see a scenario. He'll definitely be better than he was last year, but I could see that scenario where he's like a little bit better, or he's a ridiculous amount. Like maybe we're talking about him next year as like a top 10 receiver. I could see that scenario. Steelers do know the receivers, and Pickens is very, very talented. Obviously, it's in there. But next we got the Minnesota Vikings. Got to go with Alexander Mattison. And, I thought about a couple other players as well, maybe like a Brian Asamoah, linebacker. But I go Mattison, that's a tough one because he's had like good moments, like starting running back moments when he had to fill in for Dalvin Cook. But no more Cook. Mattison, the full-time starter, so he can really break out and show that, hey, I should have been an RB1 this whole time. So it's been very, very solid when he's gotten the opportunity. So I thought this was a good one on the list too. But it is tough because they did bring it. They're kind of looking at a couple running backs, but they, if they sign a guy like Kareem Hunt, it's going to take away some carries from Madison. If they sign a guy like, Mike Davis, which they haven't done anything at the time I'm talking, but then I don't know if it takes away anything from Madison there. So I guess it depends on who they sign. Lions were a good one for this video because a good one and a tough one at the same time. Good one because they have two breakout players that I absolutely love. Like they'd be like the prime selections for this video, but the video I have to choose one. And the other one was Aleem McNeil. I think Aleem McNeil can become one of the better defensive tackles. Spends a lot of time at nose tackle. I think he can be one of the better ones in this league actually in the future. I was very high on him at NC State. And it really started to pick it up last year. But KERBY Joseph, I'm going to go with him. This is another guy I liked a lot too as a prospect. Was very high on KERBY Joseph from Illinois. And I saw a tremendous upside because he only had 1 year as a full-time starter. He has freaky range in the back end, like as a true coverage-free safety. He has ridiculous athleticism and length, things that you cannot coach. And he was not, even though we were high on him, he was not supposed to get going quite yet, and he started to do so at the end of last year, showing off those skills, showing off that range, the ball, the playmaking ability on the ball, making plays on the ball, getting interceptions. Saw it in that Packers game as well. So I think he has potential to be a very, 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 very good free safety in the league. So we can kind of see that start to break out of him this year. So a couple Lions guys I'm really excited to watch there. Packers could go Jordan Love, just a little up in the air on how good he will actually be. I'm going to go Romeo Doubs. I still think he has a shot to be their best receiver. I think he's that good. The downfield ability, the downfield tracking ability, the hands. Heard really good things in training camp as well. When he played last year, he looked pretty damn solid. They do have Christian Watson, who is, you can get creative with him, end arounds, things like that. And he's kind of he's feasting on the touchdowns. You want to see a little bit more of him throughout the entire game. I think Doubs is a little more complete. So I'm going to go with him as the breakout guy. I've been hearing good things. The Bears, you pretty much have to go Justin Fields here for the Chicago Bears. He's another year along, a young player. This is the time where these quarterbacks at this age these days really start to break out. And they got a much better offensive line in front of them. They have much better weapons at receiver, running back around him. So now is the time. We already know he can run. We know he has the traits to be able to throw, but can he put it together? Can he become, because you have to be a pass-first guy in this league, so can he do that? So that's the big question, but it's most definitely I think it has to break out. Most definitely has to be better as a passer. You don't need him to be better as a runner than he was last year, but I think he's going to be better as a passer. Just how much, I guess, is the question, but a prime breakout candidate here coming from Chicago. The Jags, another prime one. You got to go TRAVON Walker. The Jags drafted him first overall because of his freaky upside, freaky ability. So not what he can do year one. I thought he was pretty solid year one. So I think he's really going to get going. He's drafted first overall for a reason. He has a chance to be the best pass rusher from that draft class. There's a few freaky guys that have a lot of upside from that class from last year. So I'll go TRAVON Walker for the Jags. I have an easy one. Titans will go TREYLON Burks. A little bit of a scare the other day, but he's only going to miss a few weeks from the other day. So that is kind of cutting it close to the season opener, I should say. But, big things here at Burks. There's so much you can do with him as long as he's healthy. So I think they're going to start to gear a lot of play designs towards TREYLON Burks, again, if he's healthy. So went with him for the Titans. Texans, I'll go Derek Stingley. You can go with a few of the second-year guys for the Texans, but, Petrie already kind of broke out as a rookie. They got Harris in there as well you can go with. But Derek Stingley was a top pick for a reason. So much talent in him. He's kind of had ups and downs last year, but I think under DeMeco Ryans with an improved defense in the second year, I think he could be a big-time corner for the Texans. Could be better than people expected, so I'm going to go with Stingley. For the Colts, I'll go with Alec Pierce. There wasn't really too many great ones for the Colts, but I go with Pierce. He showed very strong hands last year, I thought. Underrated route runner. Kind of like a possession guy. Like if you got to throw one up for grabs sometimes in a tight area, feels like he can come away with it using those strong hands. So that could be the case with Richardson at quarterback. He'll kind of throw them up for grabs sometimes. So gives Pierce a decent opportunity there. There wasn't a long list of guys I love for the Colts. There's some teams I like more than others for this video. Saints, I'm gonna go ALONTAE Taylor, another guy that probably starting to catch on to something. I like going with second year, third year guys that I was very high on as prospects because I still believe in my evaluation that they can break out. I really believe they will, and they're in good opportunities, the one that I chose. And here's another one I was extremely high on, Tennessee's corner, ALONTAE Taylor, who the Saints got, and he showed some bright moments last year when he had the opportunity to play. And the Saints will use a committee of corners. This is what they do, and they have some injuries. So if Taylor starts week 1 or not, we'll see. Has a decent shot, but he'll be out there playing, and he's a playmaker for sure. So I'll go with Taylor for the Saints. For the Falcons, going to go with Drake London. Not too many other great options, but I felt good about Drake London, who shown signs last year, obviously with his contested catchability and more. So I'll go London for the Falcons. For the Panthers, I'll go with Kemik Wanu. Yeah, not a long list of great ones for the Panthers, but I like one with a lineman here. Going to go with offensive tackle who I thought started a little slow last year, which was okay, but then really picked it up. Really picked it up down the stretch. And I think we'll see him continue to break out off that there, so he could be a very solid tackle this year. We will see. Buccaneers will go Rachaad White. Yeah, another one. Not too many great options for the Bucs, but White was a second-year player that really started to take off last year, and I think they're all in on him being that running back one, and we know he's already really good catching the ball out of the backfield. I think they'll scheme a lot of things up underneath. There could be a lot of checkdowns to him as well, so he should get his production not only on the ground but through the air. Chiefs were a good one for this video. You can go so many different routes. I think the obvious might have been Kadarius Toney, or it might have been Sky Moore, or it might have been George Karlaftis. You can actually argue Nick Bolton too, but I already think he broke out, but I think he could break out even further. I think he could be an elite linebacker in this league. So there's so many good ones you can go. Toney, you kind of can argue, did it at the end of in the playoffs maybe, but there was such a small sample size. I mainly thought about Sky Moore and Brian Cook, but I'm going to go Brian Cook. And it's still not a guarantee that he'll start this year because they brought in Mike Edwards. They lost Juan Thornhill, but they bring in Mike Edwards. But who are they going to play alongside Justin Reed? Honestly, they can play all three because Mike Edwards can go play in the box. But Brian Cook, I know the Chiefs want to run a lot of cover 2 and 2-man under. I think Cook is perfect for that. His tape at Cincinnati, he showed some good signs getting over to his half of the field and laying the boom sometimes too. So pretty instinctive. He got some reps towards the end of last year, looked pretty good. So I think they have high hopes for him. I think he's going to get on the field. I think he really fits based on what he did in Cincinnati and what he learned with the Chiefs scheme last year. He really fits what they're trying to do in that defense. So that's a guy with a lot of upside to watch for. So maybe I went a little bolder, maybe more of the, I listed some more obvious choices there. So we'll see. Chargers, I go to ALOHI Gilman, who already has gotten some playing time in the past, kind of a do-it-all type safety. A little on the smaller size, but he won't really show it. He'll run around and hit people. And he obviously gets more of a role now. Adderley, gone. Adderley was more of like a true free safety. Gilman plays a little bit of both. But I think we'll see a lot more of Gilman this year, and we already seen a decent amount of him last year. So playing alongside Derwin James in that defense, I think could do good things for Gilman. For the Broncos, we're going Greg Dulcich. He started to pick it up at the end of last year too, getting some pretty good production. I think that Sean Payton offense, and they'll scheme some things open there, make it easy on Russell Wilson. Maybe some play action pass, get it to Dulcich. So I think we'll see a pretty productive tight end here, and kind of maybe a fantasy sleeper as well. Raiders. Javon Marag, there wasn't a lot that really stood out for the Raiders, but it's got to be Marag. There was a lot more expectations on him so far. He can still reach those expectations. He's been decent. It's not like he's been bad at all. But I think now's the time for him to take that next step. It's just the tricky part with him is, TCU, he played all over the place, free, strong, but in the slot, he actually played in the slot more. And he's mainly been playing kind of in the back end for the Raiders. So, maybe he would actually be better in the slot, but I don't think they're going to play him there. But, maybe just moving around a little bit more could do the trick. But has some breakout potential here. 49ers, I'm going to go to lineman, actually, Aaron Banks. And I think Aaron Banks, and we saw him, get in as a starter last year. I think he's got so much more upside still. I think going into this year, people know maybe a little bit about him. Like, all right, maybe that people go like, that's the starting nine. That's the Niners starting left guard. I think after this year, I think people will go like, it's a pretty damn good guard. So I think Banks will take that leap on being known as a very solid guard here, and playing right next to Trent Williams definitely helps him as well. To the Seahawks. Seahawks are another team that didn't have a lot that I felt great about, but BOYE MAFE started to play a little bit more last year and looked pretty decent. And then I think he'll get going a little bit, maybe more reps this year too. I guess it depends. Does Daryl Taylor continue with the reps? He was somewhat productive last year. We know Nwosu was going to play a lot on the other side. So do they take reps away from Taylor to give the MAFE? I think they definitely could. But they did draft Derek Hall as well. So it's a little bit of a tricky one. But MAFE was like a high upside guy. So we'll see if he gets that going this year. Rams, not a lot that really stand out. Go to defensive player because somebody's got to step up on defense. It's Aaron Donald by himself out there, it feels like. I mean, they have John Johnson as well. But I'll go Ernest Jones. He's shown some moments here and there last couple of years. But no more Bobby Wagner. So, not that he's the same exact position. But I think he'll step up a bit here and break out this year. Then one more, the Cardinals. Got to go Isaiah Simmons. Still waiting for him to break out. Had such a ridiculous career at Clemson, playing linebacker and being in coverage, lining up in the slot at safety sometimes. And for the Cardinals, they kind of been using him as an inside linebacker, which he really didn't play at Clemson. So they bring in Gannon, who runs more of a 4-3. So I'm thinking, all right, they're going to put him at weak side linebacker. That might make some sense, but actually does one further, and they're going to use Simmons as a defensive back. I think we'll see him maybe kind of play, not that he's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but maybe that type of role where he's a do-it-all DB. We'll see him lined up here, there, and over there. For Jonathan Gannon. That's why I use Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, because Gannon's from the Eagles, where he was. So I like it. I'm maybe more so like him playing. Well, maybe they'll do that too, like weak side linebacker and then like a slot guy or like a box safety, like a little bit of both. I can definitely see that. I like all of that, all of the above, better than just inside linebacker in a 3-4, which he's been, because he was not that at Clemson. We never thought he really would be that. So it kind of ruined his career a little bit. So he actually could really break out with a little bit more of a proper role. We'll see where he's used and how much he's used, but a little bit more of a proper role. I thought just based on a certain scheme taking him in that draft, kind of hurt him a little bit. But it was tough on the Cardinals because maybe it was just too much of a talent to pass on. They did a similar thing with Hassan Reddick. I thought he was just straight up an edge rusher, and they drafted him to play at off-ball linebacker, and I was just like, what? And he just wasn't working out. And then he finally got moved to edge. And then he's good, getting better, and now he's one of the best in football. So it happened to be twice the Cardinals did that, and there might have been different staff even. So interesting. But that wraps it up for the breakout players for each team. I like doing the same video, but for secret weapons, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I've been doing that the last few years, so maybe something like that. If you have any other suggestions here or on Twitter, I'm always taking those, always open to those here. But trying to get some more content before the season starts. In-season content starts when the season starts. So cannot wait. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter. Very, very important. Any link you're looking for, pin in the comments. Gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.